Ukrainian drone swarm evades Russia's air defenses. $6.2 billion jet fuel plant obliterated in minutes. A precision strike, executed at treetop level, bypasses Pantsir systems and ignites a catastrophic chain reaction inside one of Russia's most critical fuel facilities. Today, at 3:19 a.m., the quiet industrial landscape around Sterlitamak in Russia's Bashkortostan region shifted into a scene of uncontrolled destruction. In a matter of seconds, Russia's $6.2 billion Agidol 100 jet fuel additive complex, a facility responsible for nearly 15% of the country's aviation fuel conditioning agents, was transformed into a severely damaged industrial site. A towering column of black smoke rose roughly 500 feet into the night sky, turning darkness into a distorted orange glow. What appeared to local residents as a sudden catastrophe was, in reality, the final stage of a Ukrainian drone operation executed through coordinated deception, precision timing, and adaptive AI-driven control. The strike was not a simple attack. It was a meticulously layered operation built around timing, technological advantage, and the deliberate exhaustion of Russian defensive systems. What happened in those minutes shows how smaller, low-cost unmanned systems can bypass defensive shields once considered impenetrable. By 3:12 a.m., only 7 minutes before impact, the strike formation was already in motion. In the freezing fog, close to ground level, an 8-drone wolfpack from Ukraine's Reaper squad, built on the A1-196 Lebut airframe, moved at about 186 miles per hour, while maintaining an altitude of only 130 feet. Their configuration followed a calculated distribution: 4 drones designated as decoys, and 4 as precision strike units. The decoys were programmed to attract Russian interceptors and draw fire, allowing the 4 Dagger drones to press deeper toward the administrative and chemical processing zones of the jet fuel plant. Inside a command center in Kyiv, a team of Ukrainian operators monitored the live telemetry. They issued high-level commands, while the swarm itself executed most flight decisions autonomously. Their target was one of Russia's most strategically sensitive industrial installations. The Agidol 100 complex produced the chemical agents required to keep aviation fuel stable, 58 degrees Fahrenheit Siberian condition, meaning that aircraft operating in those regions would be directly grounded without this additive. As the drones advanced, the Ukrainian tactical display lit up with a deep red overlay. This represented the radar field of Russia's Pantsir S-1 air defense system, a combined missile and gun platform valued at nearly $17 million and designed to engage low-altitude threats in a 25 kilometers radius. Russia believed the Pantsir systems surrounding the plant formed a reliable shield, but Ukrainian planners expected this encounter and prepared for an electronic clash. Just minutes after the drones appeared on radar, a nearby Russian Krasuka 4 electronic warfare unit activated its jamming field. Stationed approximately 10 miles away, it saturated the region with a digital storm, disrupting communication channels and scrambling satellite navigation signals across a 20-mile radius. 7 of the 8 Ukrainian drones momentarily lost GPS connection. On the Ukrainian screens, their location markers froze. But this was not an operational failure. It was phase 2 of the plan. Once the jamming became active, the drone's onboard systems switched to ghost mode, a passive camouflage technique. Rather than competing against the jamming, the drones dissolved their signatures into the background civilian frequencies. They mimicked the static patterns of commercial truck radios, cell towers, and low-power household electronics. To the Krasuka's sensors, the drones no longer appeared as hostile craft. They blended into the electronic noise of a sleeping industrial city. On the Russian side, the sudden transformation of one unstable contact into multiple intermittent signatures created confusion. Operators initially misinterpreted the radar return as a bird, a weather anomaly, or a malfunction. Nothing about the contact fit the profile of cruise missiles or high-speed aircraft. But within moments, the single signature multiplied into 4, then 8. Confusion gave way to urgency. Russian operators triggered the engagement systems, and the Pantsir S-1 launched its first volley. 2 57 E-6 interceptor missiles, each costing roughly $250,000, streaked into the air at Mach 4. Their target, the drones designated as Reaper 5 and Reaper 6, 2 two of the Ukrainian decoys. As programmed, the decoys amplified their radar signatures, climbed sharply, and transformed themselves into priority targets. Both were vaporized. Their destruction signaled the beginning of the exhaustion phase of Ukraine's plan. Another pair of missiles launched and chased the second decoy group, Reaper 7 and Reaper 8. Those drones executed a high-speed scissor maneuver, confusing the missile guidance algorithms. One drone was destroyed. The other forced a missile to lose lock, causing the interceptor to self-destruct. By this point, Russia had fired 4 missiles, destroying 3 decoys, but failing to touch any of the 4 strike drones. And now, the drones had moved inside the Pantsir's 1-mile no-fire zone, where missile intercepts were no longer possible. The Pantsir crews shifted to close-range defense. Twin-2 A-38 M30 MM autocannons began firing, creating walls of high-explosive rounds. The first strike drone, Reaper 1, was targeted, and the gunner fired a long burst. But the drone's AI detected muzzle flashes milliseconds before impact, and adjusted its flight by mere feet, slipping under the incoming rounds. On the plant's eastern perimeter, the 2nd Pantsir unit used barrage fire to trap Reaper 2 in a shrapnel cloud. The drone punched through the fragment storm, sustaining wing damage but retaining enough stability to continue toward its target. Its signal in Kyiv changed from green to yellow, indicating partial impairment. A new operational complication occurred when the earlier decoy explosions created a massive thermal plume. Reaper 4, approaching the chemical storage area, lost infrared visibility of its target. Its camera feed washed out in white static. The Kyiv operator manually intervened, locking it onto pre-programmed GPS coordinates. It was no longer a precision strike. It was now an area strike on pre-planned coordinates, but it was still effective. Meanwhile, the Russian crew attempted to finish off the damaged Reaper 2 with a coordinated crossfire. This was when the final decoy, the already battered Reaper 8, made its last move. It dove at one Pantsir unit and activated a high-power radar enhancer. The Russian gunner saw the sudden surge in his threat display and redirected his fire into the oncoming decoy. Reaper 8 was destroyed, but those critical seconds allowed the damaged Reaper 2 to stabilize and proceed. At the same time, Reaper 3 engaged the most experienced Pantsir crew. They recognized that the drones were reacting to muzzle flashes and adjusted their firing pattern to irregular bursts designed to mislead an AI prediction model. A single tracer round struck Reaper 3's propeller shaft, destroying thrust. The drone immediately entered an unpowered glide, losing its ability to reach its target. But in this swarm, the loss of one drone did not translate into mission failure. The drones acted as a distributed system. Reaper 3 transmitted its surviving data in real time. Impact vector, target coordinates, distance to target. Within milliseconds, Reaper 1 changed its strike assignment, abandoning its original secondary target and rerouting towards the primary building intended for Reaper 3. In the final 10 seconds, all 3 surviving strike drones reached their objectives almost simultaneously. Their impacts occurred about 1.2 seconds apart, creating overlapping shockwaves that overwhelmed the facility's internal safety design. The first strike came from Reaper 1, hitting the main production hall. Its 110 lb shaped charge warhead triggered the Monroe effect, producing a focused copper jet traveling at nearly 25,000 feet per s. The blast expanded outward, peeling the structure as internal pressure detonated the mixture. Moments later, the damaged Reaper 2 hit the power substation. Its detonation severed the plant's internal electrical grid, shutting down lighting, emergency networks, pumps, and fire suppression systems. The complex went dark. Then, Reaper 4, still flying blind on GPS, struck the chemical storage zone. Tanks holding ammonia and industrial solvents ruptured and ignited, adding a secondary layer of toxic combustion. Massive black smoke plumes drifted upward, carrying chemical particulates over the surrounding area. Within minutes, the entire Agidol 100 plant was no longer operational. Electrical systems were disabled, water pressure was lost, and the fire burned too hot for suppression agents. By sunrise, analysts estimated that Russia had lost 20% of its domestic capacity to produce cold-weather jet fuel additives. This impact extended into operational readiness. Aircraft in Siberia and the Eastern Military District, possibly including platforms such as the Su-57, could face grounding due to fuel instability. Railway deliveries of aviation fuel, blended with Agidol 100, were immediately disrupted, creating an estimated 15% shortage in Russia's logistical fuel network. Russian state media attributed the event to a technical malfunction, but residents near the facility, having filmed the explosions in real time, shared footage online throughout the morning. The narrative of a spontaneous accident unraveled quickly. The Ukrainian strike demonstrated a clear strategic lesson. The path to overwhelming advanced air defenses does not require matching capability. It requires generating more simultaneous challenges than the defender can respond to. With low-cost, adaptive swarms, Ukraine exposed vulnerabilities in the very systems Russia depended upon to secure high-value industrial infrastructure. And as analysts assess the wider implications, one question now shapes the next phase of Ukraine's long-range drone campaign. Will the following target be the reloading site for Russia's Kalibr missiles, or the military airfields housing its frontline combat pilots?